Okay, so I've recently been doing a lot of writing on my past and stuff of how I got to be a modder and how I did various things and what has happened and et cetera, et cetera. Especially with me just doing a rant video on my take on why I have a beef with Aiden and stuff. You can watch the other video if you want to go on that. But by doing all this, I realized I've never really answered the number one question most modders get asked. Why is it that we mod? Why is it that I mod? And the honest truth is I don't actually have a good answer. The answer I normally give is I actually enjoy doing the work, which is true. I absolutely enjoy this. I love it. I love the challenge. I love the failure. It's one big thing is really weird to hear from somebody, especially when they do professional work, is that they can enjoy failing. Because success, even though it's enjoyable, is short term. Overcoming a failure, there's nothing compared to it. You struggle, you try to climb that mountain, you fall down, and you go back up it, and you keep repeating the task over and over again. The harder it is, the longer it takes you to do something, the more satisfying it is when you finally solve the problem. And that is what I believe reason I do modding. It's the reason I actually do things. It's the reason why I make things like sentry guns. That was not an easy thing to do. When I first started with sentry guns, I tried multiple different methodologies. I went through several different iterative processes. There was no easy button. Some of my earliest sentry guns were basically clones of my guardsmen archers that fired projectiles that were not arrows but still behaved like arrows. I mean, they were horrible. They had trouble with pathfinding. You could knock them off their pedestals. You could push them around. They were not some of the greatest things ever made. And this is because early in the days I barely knew how to mod, and I got a lot of help from other people to do things. I mean, my guardsman mod, I started off with cloning the archer, and then I had to continuously look at tutorials and other people's mods to get the things functional. I know I got some pretty huge help from the forums just to get them to do patrol passes, but eventually I actually figured it out. I figured out how to get them to work, and they worked really well, and they would attack things, and they would group up, and they would identify when each other needed help and interact with each other. Eventually I got barracks built up, I got armories built up, I had the armories talking to each other, interacting and pulling from chests and giving things. Although that all fell apart when I learned the hard way that GitHub is a thing, and you should sync code to GitHub, as I lost several of my files and lost all that stuff. But back to the question of why we mod. Now, the thing is, every modder has a different reason why they do things. There is the ideal of fame, there's the ideal of glory, there's the ideal of recognition, attention, there's even the ideal of being hated. I've actually seen modders do stuff just solely because they want to be hated by the community. There's people that do it for the money. They do it for the downloads. They do it to build up their resumes. They do it for the experience, which I sort of do it for the experience myself. Um, there's a huge list. Some of them just do it because they want to have content to play with. This is actually one of the many reasons I got into modding in the first place, is that when I started modding, or when I started playing Minecraft, I played vanilla for a good while because I started playing the game back in like somewhere between 2010 and 2011. I don't remember when I started. I know I played the web-based creative mode was the first mode I ever played. I loved it, and I discovered there was mods for that, and we had played with customizable servers. You could host a server, everybody could log into it. You could play and you could customize things. We had added blocks, we added game modes. You had the lava rise where the lava would slowly go up and you had to keep building to stay alive. We built stuff. We had experienced griefers. I've had to ban a few friends from servers early on just because they wouldn't leave each other alone. We just started things. Eventually the actual version of the game came out. I got that. It took me a long while to get it. I actually got my copy. It was given to me by I don't know if it was a developer of the game. It was somebody. Somebody on the forum gave me my key. I never bought it. It was given to me. It was great. I loved that person because I couldn't get anybody to buy me the game. I was trying to get people to give me a couple dollars. I was like, here, I'll give you $20 if you give me $5. At the time the game was out, you could buy it for $5. Now the game is like $30. I still find that ridiculous. Yeah, so I got the game and I played it for a while. I loved it, man. I built castles, I built fortresses. My main thing is I love to build underground facilities and stuff. So I had mine carts and everything else. I remember still building the bumper minecart systems where the cart would go downhill, and then with just a momentum you would come up the hill, you hit the bumper would then skyrocket you up all the way up the hill, and you hit a couple more to get your system going all the way, because at the time we didn't have power rails. Eventually when power rails came out, those were used, because man, those were so much better than bumper rails. Bumper rails were glitchy, they like to fail, you could lose your carts. They were banned on most servers. One of the servers I actually played on, they banned him eventually, and eventually they banned me, although they were a bunch of assholes. I eventually got banned from another server too, and they nuked my base. Both times I got banned, by the way, I note this, I didn't do anything. So the first time I got banned, I accidentally dug into somebody's train tunnel while trying to build my own train tunnel. I was trying to build a train tunnel to my tree farm, so I could just, instead of walking, I could just ride back and forth. I dug into them, I was banned within minutes. And this was, you gotta keep in mind, I played on the server for like a year since they banned me. I then went to a server that was made out of the people who left that one, because, I mean, the owners of that server were not very nice. I think it was called VanillaCraft or something. Then the next one I went to was like no, it wasn't Creations. It was like, I don't remember the name of the server. It was run by a guy named Zerg. He did most of the adminning. He's one of the people that actually inspired me to start learning to program and stuff. Great, amazing guy. He built custom plugins for that server all the time. But I played on their server. I built massive underground bases and stuff. I eventually got banned because 3 members of my clan had griefed and stuff, and 2 of those people were my close family. It was my dad and my brother had griefed somebody. What had happened is that person was sneaking into one of our bases, and they were stealing our obsidian blocks, because we were farming obsidian. That's how we made money on the server. And he kept coming in, so what we did, they laid a trap for it, and they killed the guy, and that was considered griefing. They both got banned. I tried to defend them. I then got ragged out. Then I got banned, and when they banned me, they held a huge event and blew my entire base up. By the way, my base covered like 1.4 kilometers, so needless to say, this was a huge thing. And then they wiped out the map a couple months later and just reset the whole thing, because, well, people were getting upset, and not because I was banned, by the way, but the admins were not treating people nicely. The thing is, the moderators were pretty good, and Zerg was an amazing admin too. It's just the owner and a couple of the higher ups were not exactly nice people. Moving aside, so I eventually got into modding. One of the first mods I made was Guardsman. I made this because I had played IndustrialCraft and BuiltCraft for a long while. This was the original IndustrialCraft. This was not IndustrialCraft 2. This was where you had wires which were black globs on the ground that you ran connecting your machines. Machines didn't really have textures, and you had a glorified furnace, a macerator, and a couple other things. You didn't have anything. I think there was like 5 machines in the entire mod. I loved the mod though. I loved BuildCraft. I built automated machinery to run things around. When they added the query, I was so happy because you could mine automatically. They had pumps and stuff, so you could do oil. Oil refineries everywhere. I love the idea of pumping oil. I don't like the idea of it now because I see oil as damaging to the environment type of thing, but I liked it back then because it was cool. It was something you could do. But the problem I had is people kept stealing my oil on my server. So I would be pumping it out, and they would come in with buckets and stuff, and they would take it, and they would run away, and I couldn't figure out who was doing it. It turned out to be one of my buddies and somebody else who was constantly stealing my oil. So I decided, you know what? I need guards. I need people who are going to sit here and kick the fuck out of anybody who gets near my base. So I built the Guardsman mod. It started off as a red versus blue style mod. So you had a red team, you had a blue team. And I made it that way, and I kind of went away from the idea of guarding my oil because after all, that server I had got shut down eventually before I finished the mod. And I started growing it out to be a PvP mod. And I built it out, and it worked. You could kill each other, you could kill players, you could add people to your team, and it worked. It was a nice mod, and it played with. This is around the same time I also built the Come Closer mod, which was a mod that hit your name tag and changed the distance so you couldn't see people from 64 blocks away. Was customizable. I built that mod around that same time. Worked on this mod. I eventually joined the UAE team, and I worked on several different mods, and eventually I came back to the Guardsman mod. I flushed it out really nice. We were getting to the point where I had a town center. You could build barracks. Your guards would go to your barracks, and they would go out to the patrol pass during certain parts of the day. Had an armory where you could supply your guards with stuff. You could auto spawn people. I was starting to get into the idea of making jobs and stuff. This is where the current design of the Arclex mod comes from, is that original mod. And I built all this, and I built it because I wanted content. I wanted something to play and enjoy. That was the original ideal that I started modding for. So I didn't care about fame. I didn't even know you could make money off of mods back then. That was a whole thing. I didn't know people actually sold mods and content and did all that stuff. I wouldn't mind knowing that because college is expensive. Although back then I paid for college out of my own pocket. I didn't have, I had like maybe one scholarship. It was from this really nice family who, I forget their names. I kind of regret that though because they were cool and I kind of want to repay them their generosity one day. But yeah, I had one scholarship. I think I got the Pell Grant, and I paid for my first 2 years of engineering school out of pocket. I did this because I worked at a place called Dyna Labs that I started electronics, and yeah, that's a story for a whole other time. But yeah, I got into modding because I wanted content. I didn't do it because I enjoyed it. I did not do it because of fame, money, or anything. I didn't care about that. I made mods for personal use. I made mods for my buddies. This eventually, though, I got into interacting with the UE team because before I joined the UE team, I actually was starting to get pissed at Industrial Craft. It was too simplistic. It was too basic. There was no flexibility. Add-ons were really, really low, and if you wanted to make an add-on, you had to make it on the IC2 site. They literally said in their copyright that it had to go on their form, and ownership became part of the Industrial Craft mod. And I didn't like that, so I was like, you know what, I'm not making mods for that. Although I did end up making a couple plugins and stuff for IC2, but that's a whole other story. So I ended up stumbling across Universal Electricity Team because Cal Clavia was working on that. He was trying to make a power system for ICBM. When he originally had ICBM, it was a dispenser that fired a firework-looking object. This is before fireworks were out. I think this is even before dispensers existed. So he had this block. It fired a rocket up. It would go up, and it would come down and it would explode and stuff. And it was cool. He built it for his buddies as well. That's the reason why he got into it. So that's the reason me and him got along so well.
User joined your channel.
Actually, hold on. Let me mute my speakers.
Sound muted.
We both had got into it because we wanted to make things. Neither of us wanted to be famous. Neither of us wanted to make money off this. Neither of us wanted to do anything. So we got along really, really well. I offered to help him with Universal Electricity because I was a electrical engineering and training, and I had spent 2 years in high school being trained in electronics. I was incredibly good at it. I could name any part. I could do all the math. I can't do it anymore because I'm so far out of training. But I decided to help him, and I gave him a lot of mathematical advice. I told him how to do resistance. I told him how to do voltage, wattage, all that stuff. And that's the reason I got into it, is I was helping him out, and I wanted to see something to replace IC2 myself because I was starting to get frustrated with the mod lack of content. I still love the mod, by the way. I will still play it from time to time. I don't like the new style of it. The Greg Test complexity is kind of driving users away, and I've got a lot of people who've told me the same thing. Even new people coming into Minecraft are like, this is hard to play, and they go play Thermal Expansion or Mechanism, and they find those so much easier. Because IC2 is just kind of, I don't think they know where they're going, and they just are kind of making content they enjoy as well, which, if that's what they're doing, good for them, because people have different reasons for modding. But anyways, go back to the story. So yeah, I joined UE team, and I was still doing it because I wanted to make content that I loved. So yeah, I was doing it because I loved to do it. And eventually I kept helping the team out. Eventually I became a modder for the team, and I made mods for the team. And I started modding at that point because I wanted to help other people. I stopped doing it for myself and started doing it for the team. I made basic pipes because I wanted to make a mod for the team to use. I didn't make the mod for the community to use. That was not my goal because I still didn't understand the concept that there was this huge community of Minecraft. I still saw Minecraft as this niche game that I thought only a few thousand people played. I didn't realize hundreds of thousands of people played this game. This wasn't something I learned until way, way later. Very few people at that time had even heard of Minecraft. Well, I guess I take it back. A lot of people have heard of Minecraft, but my view of the world was skewed. So yeah, I was starting to make mods for the team. The idea was I was going to make small mods that took care of each functionality that we needed to make a full mod pack to play Minecraft. We were building mods. I wouldn't say for mod pack per se, but we were building trying to build up a layer of mods over top of Minecraft without using other people's mods, because at the time, I mean, there was only BuiltCraft and Industrial Craft. There was a couple small mods. There wasn't much there. So we were like, hey, we need pipes, we need wires, we need machines, we need tools, we need all this stuff, and everybody was doing a little bit, and we had different mods for different things. I made pipes, of course. I also made some generators. I took on different responsibilities. Eventually, like way near the end before I quit, I took almost the entire responsibility of Universal Electricity Team. That's the reason why I have a lot of their mods in the first place, is right before UE fully caved, I was literally working on every single mod UE had. I worked on Atomic Science, Resonant Induction, ICBM. Man, towards the end, we really didn't have any mods left. because resin induction sucked up everything. I threw everything I had into resin induction when I finally agreed with CalClavi to work on the mod, because the original resin induction just had some electromagnets in it and stuff. There was a few different things. So we tossed atomic science in there. We tossed. Actually, eventually we almost tossed MFFS in there. I think I kind of curbed CalClavi away from that because I saw what was happening to resin induction. I fully regretted making that mod, by the way. But the goal was we were going to make a really, really, really strong mod. Because at this point, keeping with the subject of this video, I started modding for the user base. I started making mods because I believed in the ideal of making really good content for users to use that made them happy. At no point did I ever mod for money, and no point did I mod for fame. I actually got almost no fame and recognition when I worked for CalClavi, and this was intentional. I didn't like the fame. I didn't like the spotlight, especially after CalClavi got really, really beat into by the Forge Crafters. He decided to try to blackmail ForgeCraft to let him on their server. And of course, he got blacklisted, and so did the entire UE team in the process. I got blacklisted, and I'm still blacklisted from this day, as far as I understand. I have not actually asked any of them. I don't really care. As I've told several people, I give no fucks to be on their server. They're a bunch of. I was about to do a discriminatory term there, but I'd be wrong in saying that. Their server is just a bunch of friends, and I'm not friends with them, any of them. So there's no point in being on their server. So yeah, I didn't do anything for fame or money. I did find out later that CalClavi started modding for money. He was making a lot of money off of ICBM. I don't know how much he made. He never told me. He never shared any of it with me. I eventually did get paid by him at some point in time because I quit UE right before or let me phrase this. I've quit the UE team several times in its lifetime. Each time I came back because the team needed me to help them. CalClavi was struggling to keep up with his workload. We were losing team members. We constantly kept losing team members. Every time we bring people in, they would get driven off because CalClavi is not a nice person. We eventually curbed that. He turned into a tolerable person at the end. I don't know if he's a nice person even to this day. We never had... Me and his relationship was always business. We never really got into a friendly level with each other because we didn't hang out a lot. We worked on UE projects. We did stuff like that. But yeah, he made a lot of money from all I knew because he was getting some almost $100,000 a day. And back when AdFly was giving you $10 per 1,000 clicks or something, you got to take that ideal or it was like $10 per 10,000. So he was easily making $100 a day from what I was understanding. And you're talking about $3,000 a month. At least that's calculations. The reality of it is he probably was only making maybe $500 or $600 a month. But that's still saying that he was making a lot of money. Not just AdFly. He had ads on the sites. He was getting sponsored by Creeperhost, and of course the rest of us developers never saw any of this. So he was doing it for fame and money at some point. And of course, in my last rant video I noted that my belief is that Aiden has always been doing it for the fame. I don't know if this is 100% true because I've never had a chance to actually ask him this. Because it's a really personal question to ask somebody, are you doing it for the fame and money? This is the reason why I made this video, of course. I don't want people getting the wrong assumption. I mod currently. My current belief is I do it for the users. I build mods. Actually, let me rephrase this. I do it for the users and I enjoy it. I build mods because I enjoy it. I always will make content I enjoy, and I will not make content I don't enjoy unless I'm being paid. And even then, I've refused to make things for people. So yeah, I do because I enjoy it, and I do because I believe users have fun. I believe when somebody installs a mod and they enjoy it, that I have improved their life, that they have had a good time. Like when people play with ICBM, I get comments. I enjoy receiving those comments. It's pretty good to know that people are having a great time. But I don't do it because I actually want that appreciation. As I've told people, you can hate me all you want, I'll still make mods. I'll still do it every day. What would happen if I actually got hated pretty bad? I would just remove the public downloads. I would still make mods. I would still just come in every day and I would program and stuff, even though I also do enjoy getting the revenue. So don't get me wrong, your Patreon donations and the AdFly and all that stuff, it's really appreciated because it keeps making this job easier and easier. So I can mod more and more. And I'm kind of getting off the train of thought, but I guess I'll go ahead and finish this video up here because there's a couple people poking me that want my attention. I mod because I love to do it. I make things like the sentry guns because I love making them. I update older content because I appreciate the users. That's the whole reason why I updated ICBM Classic and I updated the Sentry guns is because I did it for the users. I make these guns were made because I wanted to have guns. I used to play with the Flance guns. He made some really good content, but his guns don't hold up to the day and age where we need them. Of course, my guns aren't much better, but you got to keep in mind that's a 2D gun, and I have 3D guns as well. I built a lot of these systems because I wanted this content. I build it because I want to learn how to do things. I make really good content because I desire to do that. Like the fragmentation system, I didn't have to do that. I could have completely neglected to do that on a system. I could have went with just a little cratered hole that isn't, well, it's not perfect either, but that's, I think, the blaster directionalized. But I added the fragmentation system because I was like, you know what, that would be amazing. That would be something I would really enjoy to play with. I know the users would enjoy having some of this fragments going around. I do a lot of stuff based off this ideal. I mod with the ambition that can do cool things that I would really love, that my friends would love. A lot of the ideals that I've come up with over the time have been based on other people's comments. They're like, you know, it'd be cool to do this. I picked up modular force field system, for example, because I thought it would be cool to take this mod and bring it into the future. The old system, it was built by Calclavia. He did a really good job taking, what is it, Thunder something's original mod and making it better. But I believe I could do even more with this. Because take, for example, the force field projector. See this arrow thing? I've repeatedly told Calclavia this is shit. Looking at the arrows, can you understand how it works? So I picked up the mod going, you know what? I can make this better. I can make this GUI easier. And I actually do have a video or a couple pictures back around here somewhere. I actually already updated this GUI. I just haven't got around to porting it to the classic version. There is an MFS rewrite version that's underway. I'm actually going to rename it from something from MFS to something else. That is planned to have massive force field projectors. Right now we have these one block little things. Imagine ones that are like 100 blocks tall, that are like 50 blocks wide, that then can protect a 25-kilometer area. That's what I imagine doing. This is one of the reasons I do stuff like this, is because that would be amazing. That would be something I would love to make, love to see. I don't really care if the users love it, because I don't really think users will ever use it. That's not the point I make it. So I mod because I like doing it. I mod because this stuff is cool. It's a really great way to do things. Military-based decorio, though, this was made for users. Personally, I'm not much of a decorative person. I love these, though. These look amazing. Hinneman's been doing great work on this ideal. The ideal was picked up originally because we wanted to have a decorative mod. We wanted somewhere to put the concrete. So I pulled the concrete of ICBM and I'm like, you know what, this has to go somewhere. I can't just delete it. People need it. It needs to be there for the defensive capability, the decorative ability, the ability to load old maps. I think we have the concrete actually in here. Yeah, here's the original concrete. So basic, classic concrete. All the types are here. They're still there. I mean, people can get this old stuff. We did that because we believe the users wanted that stuff. We believed that would do things. I made the rewrite of ICBM because when I worked on ICBM for Calclavia, he was not flexible in anything. Every time I tried to make a change, I was told, no, go do something else. But I was like, you know what? I foresee a better version. I see a really strong version. See something we could take into the future, do a lot more with it. I wanted to build full-scale ICBMs, things that were 64 blocks tall. I still believe I can do that objective. Right now, we're taking it baby steps right now. I'm still at the baby step stage where I'm doing small silos. So we got the small silos, which are about the same size as the classic version. I don't have the classic version enabled, I don't think, so we can't compare the two. But I mean, these work. I mean, this is something I envision. I envision seeing a tube like this with a missile in it, and I made it because I wanted to do that. I didn't do it because I believed it would give me downloads, although I knew it would. If I make really good content, I know people will download it. It's one of those ideals. If you make it, they will come. And I get downloads occasionally. I don't get a lot of downloads. Like if we actually go and look at my downloads stream here real quick, I go to Curse, and people like, I've gotten told this a few times where people are like, you know, you must get a ton of downloads, you must get a lot of money. The reality of it is I get almost none. I'm making $1 a day on Curse. That is not enough to sustain myself. As I've put on Patreon, I need almost $2,000 a month to sustain everything I do, and I'm making somewhere around $200 a month off of everything I do. The only reason I can actually do this stuff is because I currently live with my mom. She pays all of my bills. I'm happy about that. If I ever got kicked out, though, I'd be screwed. I would have to stop modding. I'd have to give my mods away because I wouldn't be able to do them because I would more than likely be couch surfing looking for a job. But yeah, you can see all the mods I make. I'm at 39, 40 projects right now. and I got 102 projects. I make all these because I love them. I made a lot of these because I thought it was cool content. I also made some of these because people thought it would be good content. Baggable plants, that was made because I ran into the milk tea and something tree mod. I love that mod. That's really cool. You can build these trees and stuff and tea trees. I don't actually use the content much. I just like the idea of picking up the tea trees. So I built a bag to pick the tea tree up without silk touch and place it back down because I was told, of course, it would take 21 days in game for these to grow, which ended up not being true. But on somebody's server, I have farms of tea trees because I moved them all around. Bone Torch, for example, was made because I wanted to be. I wanted to take and make torches in the Nether, but I had run out of wood. So I'm, like, what if I just take a bone and I stick coal on top of it? It should do the same thing. A bone is basically a stick, but kind of gruesome. So we made Bone Torch. Cacti Bucket was made because it was a joke. I thought it would be funny. Collar Chest was made because nobody had a good Collar Chest mod out there that wasn't attached to this huge bloated mod. There are Collar Chest mods out there, but they're big mods. Gas Can, of course, was made for a commission. Same grappling hook. Helm Buckets was made because I needed a bucket, but the only thing I had was a helmet around. So I'm like, you know what? If I make this, and I went to a server owner, by the way, if I make this helm bucket, will you install it? And he's like, yeah, sure. I made a helm bucket. You can scoop up water with this. I haven't finished I Need a Gun yet, but this was meant to be a prototype for the armory mod. I was like, you know what? Let's make a 5-gun weapon mod, and we'll get it out there, and this will give us as a prototype. Magic Mirror was made because somebody said they wanted to play with a classic magic mirror from Terraria to teleport home. I made that mod. You can teleport home with it. Red Cow was made because I was bored sitting in a physical therapy office waiting for my brother to get out of his session, and I'm like, you know what? I'm sitting here drinking a can of Red Bull. Let's make a parody mod. Wooden Buckets was made because I didn't have iron to make buckets with. Wooden Rails was made for the same exact reason. I love minecarts. Every time I play Minecraft, I build a minecart system. Wooden Shears was made as a joke. The irony of this is my #1 downloaded mod. It was made as a joke. If we actually go here, I can show this too. The reason this is downloaded the most, if we go dependents, is if we can find it. It's in a few big mods actually. It's down here somewhere. FTB presents Sky Factory 3 is the reason why I get all my money. They came to us and they're like, hey, you wanna go ahead and update this mod for us to a newer version, and we'll go ahead and include it. They included it. I'm actually hoping they pick up a couple more of my mods. I find it hilarious that they're using it. But it's a good thing. I make these mods, people download them. I never intended for these to be famous. I don't care what the downloads I get. All the single blocks mods are made as prototype mods. They're made as quick things I can do. Cardboard boxes were made because I didn't want to install a mechanism for his cardboard boxes. So I was like, you know what? I know his boxes work from the ground up. I'll just make my own boxes. I made these, and the plan was to go throw these in vaults, of course, because people love the cardboard boxes, but I don't think they're ever going to get into vaults because it was also the biggest exploit to pick up somebody's entire base and put into a cardboard box. So many stupid things you can do. But yeah, moving on. So there's a lot of mods here. So we got Addicted to Red. I made this because I wanted more complicated redstone machines. Because every redstone mod you go to focuses on the redstone wires. They focus on logic gates. They focus on basic features. I wanted a mod that focused on the ideal of the Internet of Things. If you've ever heard of the concept of the Internet of Things, is the ideal of connecting all of your stuff to the internet. I'm like, why don't we make a redstone of things? And instead of calling it redstone of things, I called it Addicted to Red because people who like redstone are addicted to redstone. They will build everything with redstone. So this idea was made forward. There's detectors in here. There's really complicated detectors. You can detect by area, you can detect by player, you can detect by type, monsters, there's voice emitters, there's sound emitters, you can talk to chat blocks can talk to you. There's so many cool things you do with this. AI improvements was made because we had trouble with servers running at peak performance. I did huge profiles on somebody's server to find out sheep were tanking the server down. Of course, we also found out the reason sheep were tanking the server is somebody had 3,000 sheep in one spot. Cough, cough, Dragon Lord, if you've ever met him. Of course, I've already talked about Arclex. Arclex is a mod I build because I want to build this. I don't care if a single person downloads this. I don't care who loves it, who hates it, whatever. I built this because I love to make AIs, and I have this dream to make the most immersive AIs possible. It's been inspired by several books I've read. There's books I've read where they talk about AIs that behave like people. that interact with you, that will see the beauty of your characters and will see the ugliness of your characters. I'm trying to remember the name of this book, but the main character of the book made a character that was actually beautiful rather than ugly. At the time, people were making RPG characters for this world because their economy revolved around an RPG system. This RPG system was made because these colonists had come from Earth to this planet in a spaceship, and when they made the spaceship, they had put this RPG game in there to entertain the people. But when they got to the planet, they kept playing this RPG game as the currency for the planet, and everything revolved around it. So people always had these characters, and they would go into the game to earn money to pay for things in real life. So the character made a character that was actually nice looking, where everybody else did never put anything into the charisma stats. They were like, there's no point in being beautiful in a game that you need to be powerful, you need to be brutish, you can make money by killing goblins. He made a good character, and the AIs noticed this. They would actually interact with the character more often. They would give gifts to the character. This eventually sparked the interest of the main AI that ran the game to take interest into the character, and this led to a whole other bunch of things. And there's also a second book. I've read both books. They were amazing. I recommend them. I have to go find the names for them later. But moving on. I made assembly line. Actually, let me rephrase this. I didn't originally make assembly line, and this will come up before, and I will definitely make a video on this explaining this because there's a huge story, and this is partially the reason why UE eventually did break up, is me and Cal Clovey got into a huge fight over assembly line at some point in time. I blame myself entirely for what happened. I don't blame Cal Clovey, I blame myself, because I let the third person of our team talk me into going against Cal Clovey on the situation, and I will definitely talk about that more. But I built, let me rephrase this. Cal Clavia made a conveyor belt mod. He then gave that to a person called Elusive Hawks. I then got the mod from Elusive Hawks and I renamed it to Assembly Line, rewrote most of the mod. I rewrote almost the entire thing from scratch because I like the idea of conveyor belts. I love assembly lines. I've worked in a couple factories in my life. I always love them. Watching the machinery move together, interact. So I built Assembly Line with that ideal. We built robotic arms in there. We built all kinds of cool little things and made stuff do all kinds of nice stuff. I gotta finish updating that mod. The concepts I got in there. The current version has only carts in it, but eventually it'll get conveyor belts. Eventually it'll get more robotic arms. Eventually it'll get the ejectors, blowpipes, all that stuff back in it. Basic Industries. I've been struggling with the ideal of making an industry mod, and I built this one because I want to build an industry mod. I would have actually built this a couple years ago, and I actually did have a couple of my own industry mods. Back when we originally kicked Aiden out of the Universal Electricity team, I started on one mod called Dark Machines. Basically, it was an IC2 clone. I didn't get far with it. I looked at it and I'm like, you know what? I'm wasting my time. I don't want to make a clone of IC2. Basic Industries is not a clone of IC2. The idea behind this is making highly dynamic customizable machines. Similar to Engineer's Toolbox, although I made the design before I saw Engineer's Toolbox. And I saw Engineer's Toolbox, I was like, crap. I'm going to make Basic Industries. I'm always going to be accused of copying Engineer's Toolbox no matter what I do. I don't care though. I'm going to make this mod because I love the ideal of it. Being able to make a fully customizable machine from start to finish. Of course, we got tons of mod packs. Test pack was made for various things. Box of Crates is designed to be a port of various content from older mods. It's going to have the crates from Assembly Line in it, is where it's going to end up in here. It's going to have filterable chests, boxes, buffers. It's going to be entirely dedicated to storage. It's not released yet, of course. External announcement mod was made for Intermedia to do announcement of updates. Fallen Kingdoms is a mod pack I made, and now we get the ICBM. Now, ICBM, of course, was made by Cal Clavia. He made it because he wanted to make content. I ended up adopting the mod because I was afraid of it dying. I saw Cal Clavia losing interest over and over and over again, and I was honestly afraid of watching that mod die because I enjoyed the content. I enjoyed watching people play with it. I enjoyed the idea that people really had fun. A lot of my friends I currently have played ICB in the past. They didn't even know I made the mod for a while. And they're like, dude, we had amazing experiences with Volts. We would go and play, we'd raid people's bases. And because of that, I made sure this mod didn't die. I traded my most valuable mods to Cal Clavia, which was Resin Induction. I had owned 50% of the ownership. I'm like, Cal Clavia, I'll give you all of my ownership of this mod if you give me ICBM. I did it because I wanted to make sure this mod stayed alive. I'll add to this, by the way, I was one of the original developers in the mod. I contributed a lot from the 1.4 update on, I was involved in the ICBM update. I'm the one who made the sentry guns. They were based on my original ideal. I had approached Cal Clavi with it, going, "Hey, Cal Clavi, I don't want us two of us competing because he was making sentry guns, I was making sentry guns. I'm like, you know what? I don't want to be in competition with you. Let's work together. Let's make sure we make good content for the users, and let's not compete with each other and become bloodthirsty over more users and stuff." Because I'm always afraid of competition, especially after I ran into Aiden. Aiden becomes so competitive over modding, and I'm like, dude, I do this because I love it. Why are you being competitive? Of course, I made Classic because of, yeah, people didn't like the rewrite. I felt bad for this. I was avoiding working on the Classic version because I didn't like the old version when it came to what it was. I always saw it as Cal Clavi's work, and I wanted to have something of my own, so I rewrote it. Plus, I didn't see anywhere for the technology to go. ICBM had stagnated. It had always stagnated. It always had been this constant, perpetual, the same old thing. And if you wanted to add any content to it, you had to do it the same old way. You had to build a block of explosive that was built out of the other blocks of explosives that then was built onto the missile that then had grenades and blocks. And I didn't see anywhere for it to go but then just become a constant reiteration of more and more bombs. I want ICBM, the new version, to be more focused on the technology of the missile and not the technology of blowing your opponent up. I want to put rockets in there. I want to put space stations in there. I want to. Well, I'm actually, the space station will become an add-on, by the way, so don't worry about me adding space stations to it. But it'll have a lot of technology focused purely on missiles. Different engines, different guidance systems, different motor mechanics, different shell casings, different ways to fabricate your missiles, automate them, different control systems, different all kinds of stuff. And I'm building this because I want to do this and I want to see this great vision happen. Of course, we've talked about military base decor, this stuff, all these different mod packs we had. I still maintain some of the older stuff, like we hold resonant induction and universal electricity. There's a Deep Dark Below mod pack we're working on. I did that because Lex Manos wanted an underwater mod pack for Minecraft. I didn't end up working on it. Of course, I already talked about the army mod. I made this because I wanted to make really cool guns and stuff. I want to put mecha in this. I want to put power suits, and man, there's so much stuff I want to do. But reiterating on the topic of the video, I do all this stuff because I love to do it. I don't do it for the fame and downloads, and I've almost forgot to do this, by the way. We go to the reward store. Yeah, I don't have many points. I got like 50 bucks worth of points here right now, and I haven't cashed out in a while. But if you go to my transactions, I'm averaging about 28 a day. If 1,000 points is worth $50, we'll do this real quick. So 50, actually, hold on, I'm trying to think of how to do this. 50 divided by 1,000, I think, is how this works. So each point is worth 5 cents, I think. I think I did my math wrong. Yes, I'm making $1.40 a day. So I'm not making money off this. I probably never will make a lot of money off of modding. And people going like, oh, but you're sponsored by Ackless. We don't make money off Ackless. We get free servers. That's basically what happens. We get like, I think, $100 worth of servers a month. We get 3 servers which are hosting the amps, ohms, and volts mod packs. They're supposed to be. Right now we're using them for whatever we can use them for. And then we got a big dedicated which runs our TeamSpeak and our website. And we're grateful for that. Man, we love the fact that Ackless actually helped us out. We hope to continue to support them, and I hope they continue to support us. And I like to see us get into better business relations down the road when I eventually get going with stuff. But yeah, I'm going to cut this video to a close, and this has just been my kind of, I don't want to call this a rant. It's more of an opinionated thing on why I mod. And it's kind of, well, almost a heart-to-heart, to be honest, as well, but that kind of sounds weird. I'll probably make more videos like this because I kind of want to start talking about all my stories and stuff and not just focus on the content I make, because that's all I do. All I show is the content I make, and I don't talk about the stories or why I do things and stuff like that. Anyway, see you next time.